On January 20th, 1981, Ronald Reagan was sworn in for his first term as President of the United States. Reagan had always been an anti-communist and spoke out during his various jobs in Hollywood against communism, the Cold War, and the Soviet Union's idea of expansionism. When Reagan became president, he finally had a chance to take an effective and lasting stand against communism, the Soviet Union, and the Cold War. As president, the main focus of Reagan's foreign policy was to prevent the spread of communism by the Soviet Union, which he called an evil empire. Reagan believed the Soviet Union's military was much stronger than the U.S.'s and decided to prepare the U.S.'s military defense systems by researching and developing new weapons and military technology and increasing the production of nuclear weapons. Reagan and the Soviet Union's new leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, met in Geneva, Switzerland in November 1985 to discuss reducing the creation and amount of nuclear weapons present in their countries and in the world. It was the first of 4 summits the two leaders would have. At each meeting, the leaders discussed different issues and concerns they had, but always the focus of their negotiations was nuclear arms reductions and limitations, which they hoped would lead to an end of the Cold War. After the second summit in Reykjavik, Iceland, little progress was being made in the direction of arms reductions that Reagan had expected after the summit, where Gorbachev was very hopeful and said he wanted a peaceful and cooperative relationship with the U.S. and wanted to end the Cold War. So since little progress was being made, Reagan decided to test Gorbachev to see if he was serious about forging a better relationship with the U.S. So on June 12, 1987, Ronald Reagan stood in front of the Brandenburg Gate near the Berlin Wall, which had been constructed by the Soviet Union to keep the communist-ruled East Berliners from going to democratic West Berlin. In front of the gate, Reagan made it clear that he was done with games and it was time to end the Berlin Wall and the Cold War. It told Gorbachev that if he really seeks peace with the U.S. and a cooperative relationship, there's one thing he could do to prove he wanted a better relationship with the U.S. Tear down the Berlin Wall. Reagan's speech had its desired effect, although it was later than expected. After 2 more summits in Washington and Moscow, and about 2 years after Reagan's speech, Gorbachev announced on November 9, 1989, that the Soviet Union was dismantling the Berlin Wall, and the citizens of East and West Berlin, Germany, could freely cross the wall. The fall of the Berlin Wall, which was the greatest physical symbol of the Cold War, also marked the end of the Cold War and was the beginning of a new era for Germany and its people. And by October 1990, Germany was reunified, which triggered the collapse of other East European regimes. So on December 25, 1991, Soviet Union leader Mikhail Gorbachev resigned, and the Soviet Union was dissolved, giving 15 states that had been under communist Soviet control for decades freedom, and Eastern Europe was free of communism for a long time. Reagan saw his goals achieved, and mostly because of him and his drive to defeat communism, the Soviet Union, and the Cold War. Without Reagan and his endless stand against communism, the Soviet Union may still be standing with its communist grip on Eastern Europe.